Welcome to the Tough Decisions Network for Entrepreneurs. I'm Dan Hanford, and my wife, Danae, and I interview successful people sharing stories behind tough decisions that they've had to make along their journey as an entrepreneur.
With us on the podcast today, we have Jeremy Greenberg. He is the CEO of the Avenue Group as well as Flyte Fitness. Jeremy, thank you for sitting down with us and chatting. We're looking forward to talking with you today.
Hey guys, really excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Jeremy, get us started by talking to us a little bit about where your current focus is right now as an entrepreneur.
Sure. So as you guys just said in the intro, I have two different companies and they're very different. So I'm the CEO of a Flyte Fitness, which is a fitness equipment and education company with proprietary fitness tool that we sell. And then I have a completely different company called Avenue Group, which is a combination of a few things, but predominantly an advisory firm for private equity firms, as well as a business-related education. And I'm starting a podcast as well, actually. So the biggest challenge, the biggest thing I'm doing these days, entrepreneurial-wise, is balancing. Balancing not just between work and life, but also balancing between these two companies and figuring out what to do when, because sometimes both of them have a lot of action required, and it really requires a lot of prioritization. So that's my focus right now: figuring out what to do and getting it done.
Sure, absolutely. I want to dive into a tough decision that you've had to make along your journey as an entrepreneur. And I want to start off with one that I call the sore thumb tough decision that kind of sticks out to you whenever you think about decisions. And it didn't have that good of an outcome for you. It was kind of a not so good outcome. And some of the lessons that you learned through that tough decision.
When I started going down the path of entrepreneur, I realized pretty quickly that I'm not an inventor type. I feel like there are two types of, the word entrepreneur is overused, but there are two types of people that can become entrepreneurs. There are those who are inventors or, idea people who can come out with new product and service ideas. And then there are people that can execute and build and operate. So I feel that I'm an operator. And I was looking to find an idea or a company that existed that I could stick myself into and help operate. And an opportunity came along, and this was probably around 7-8 years ago before I started my companies. An opportunity came around. It seemed on its face really exciting. It was to be the president and COO of a mobile app company. And there were so many red flags, guys, when I was interviewing and when I was thinking about this opportunity. But I was so excited to just be in charge and take over and run a company that I pushed all those red flags aside and I took the role. And I definitely learned a lot from the experience, but A, I wasn't a good fit for the company. B, I had a lot of hubris. I thought I could turn things around quickly myself when the fundamental business model of the company wasn't good. And C, I turned down another really good opportunity to take this on. That being said, in hindsight, I thought it was a great opportunity because it did humble me. I did walk out of that opportunity realizing that not everything's going to be a great fit for me. And it helped me understand some of the things that I needed in order to start a company or partner with others to make it a good fit. So it was definitely a learning experience. It was a humbling experience. I was attracted to the title. I was attracted to the role, but certainly it was, when I think about the mistake I made, it was definitely not the right decision.
What was the hardest thing in taking over and being the president of that mobile app company?
So in this situation, the hardest thing was that the founders kind of shared ownership with the chairman, and they fundamentally disagreed on what to do. And I was in the middle. So you have one kind of constituency telling you to do one thing and one telling you to do something else. And it was extremely challenging. There wasn't a cohesive, coherent, consistent approach. And that was extremely tough. So it was a dysfunctional management team, effectively.
So how does that change what you do moving forward when you know, either advise or consider yourself when somebody is taking over a company, whether it be, you know, president, CEO, or other type of C-level?
So when I'm either investing in or looking at new opportunities to take on and myself take on an operating role, I'm much more careful about making sure that there's a fit personality-wise, strategic-wise, ensuring that, you know, there is a good, scalable, sustainable business model. And it's an area that I'm interested in as well. I think I definitely jumped into this one due to hubris and due to being super excited about just, you know, getting into this area. So
you like the mobile app space.
I learned a lot. I thought it was really cool. Yeah, I think it's a really interesting space. It's super competitive because if you think about it, how many mobile apps do you actually use? I mean, really use on a regular basis. Most people probably use fewer than 10. So it's very hyper competitive to get people to actually use it. Let alone, you know, downloading is the first step, but then actually using on a regular basis, it's tough. So it's a very interesting space. It's a very competitive space. But yeah, I liked it. Definitely learned a lot about an area that I never would have learned about otherwise. And I will say this, even now, you know, in my fitness company where we think about, we're creating a new content model and we will probably have some form of app. So that experience running a mobile app company for about a year is definitely going to be helpful because I have a good sense of what things cost, what can be done, how long things take, what some of the challenges are. So there's definitely a lot that I've learned that I can take on and use in my current role, either as an operator or an advisor.
So it didn't scare you into, you know, not wanting to stay inside of or going into the mobile app, you know, space. It just kind of made you step back and go, oh, wait a minute, before I jump into any type of entity, I need to make sure that I do a little bit more, I guess, if you will, due diligence on the people within the organization that you'll be joining with.
The thing is, I did the due diligence. I could probably find you guys the notes. And also I talked with, you know, people that I trust and friends and colleagues, and I was warned basically. But I think I was so enamored with this concept of, oh, I'm going to move from a corporate job to, you know, running a company. I was so enamored with that idea that I ignored all that stuff. I mean, the writing was on the wall. Believe me, there were tons of red flags. I did a ton of due diligence. You know, I guess my ego really got in the way. And that's something, you know, this is a long game, right? You know, being an entrepreneur is a long game, and making decisions based on short-term ego boosts is not good. So I'm trying to be more humble and much more thoughtful when making decisions related to this, you know, my career or who I partner with. You know, the same can be said for who you partner with, who you hire. All these things are there are similarities.
So let's shift here a little bit and talk about a tough decision that is a little bit more positive than that last one. So let's shift and talk about one that you had made that turned out really well for you and some of the lessons you learned through that one.
Yeah. You know, as an entrepreneur, there are a lot of tough decisions, right? Sometimes they're tough, but you just need to make them because no one else is going to make them for you. And sometimes both options aren't great or you know, but you just need to figure out how to move forward. Being an entrepreneur is a lot about just moving forward, making decisions and moving forward. And it's better to make the decision than to not make the decision most of the times. So this one is going to sound like a small one, but it was eye-opening for me and it might be eye-opening for your audience. When we started Flyte Fitness, we didn't have any product. So we started a company, my partner Paul and I, you know, raised money. We're working on, you know, getting the core Flyte product patented, but we didn't have any inventory. It took a long time, you know, probably took a year or so to get the first product run, manufacturing run done, because we're working with someone who, you know, when you start a product, you're not a known entity and you're not going to work with the best manufacturing partners, and things take way longer than you think. So anyway, we're in this holding pattern where we're just waiting, and we know it's going to take, you know, a long period of time to get product. So we set up our website with a company who kind of specialized in small business websites at the time, and they had a blog area. And I said to them, don't even put that up. I'm not going to use that because, once you start a blog, you got to continue the blog. And then, they kind of did their spiel around, you can't have, one article. It's like your podcast. You can't have like one episode.
I see so many really blogs that are out there that, somebody started it and have like 3 or 4 articles and they're like 2 or 3 years old now and they just stopped doing it.
Yeah. It's like someone told them they needed a blog. So they have something on there. So I understand how that looks bad. So you're either going to do it or you're not going to do it. And, they were talking about SEO and the value of having a blog and da-da-da-da. Anyway, I decided, all right, fine. I'm going to do a blog. So what I did is I wrote a new article on health and fitness related topics, which weren't really necessarily related to our product, more, informative. I wrote an article every week and published it every week on a Tuesday for well over a year, maybe for 2 years. So while we were waiting for product and then afterwards until sales started to really kick in. And it was tough at times because, every week come up with a topic. Sometimes, I'm staying up all night finishing the article. My mom and my older brother, Josh, actually helped edit my articles because my grammar isn't terrific. But I'd send them the article, they'd give me suggestions, and then I'd publish it. So now, we've got hundreds of articles now on all these different topics. And I interviewed people who are very interesting, whether it's a dietitian or an athlete or our customers, or, I wrote about different topics, seasonal topics, different exercises you can do inside the house, outside the house, when it's cold, when it's hot, different types of health related topics, on things like acupuncture and hypertension. And it became really good. And several of the articles got picked up just by, by press or by folks that are just searching for different things. And it really did help bring people to our website. It also helped me, as someone who wasn't in the fitness industry, push myself to learn more about health and fitness. And it also helped me become a better writer. I mean, you think about it, you're writing an article every week for, a couple of years, you're going to become a better writer. So in business, you don't write well. I mean, business is about email and PowerPoint, maybe Excel, right? So it helped me write in prose. So those have been some very good improvements that I think the blog, as a pain as it was at many times, when I commit to something, I stick to it. So I knew that I would publish, every Tuesday. And I think that was good for the company, and it was good for me, and hopefully it was good for our audience.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you, Jeremy, what did it have the effects for your company that, you thought it would have, and I'm assuming that's the reason why you went ahead and did it anyway, even though you weren't crazy about that idea to start with?
Yeah, it's a good question. So the first blog I ever wrote, the title was Don't Just Buy Our Products. And that's the point of the blog. I didn't want us to be just another company that just sells stuff. I wanted to be a company where people could come, they could learn about different things. And also now that we have customers, more of a community. So on social media, in particular on Instagram, a lot of people share their use of core flights and, give tips to each other. So that community is where I wanted to head. But at the time, we didn't have any products. So it was really helpful in terms of, giving us a little bit more gravitas and helping our brand. So we're not just a company that's selling some stuff. We're actually legitimately interested in helping people lead healthier lives, happier lives. And I think it has been good for the company. There's some articles that come up pretty high when you search for certain people or certain topics. We interviewed a woman who became our partner, actually, Amy Kaiser, who has a very popular YouTube channel, Body Fit by Amy. We interviewed her. She's a fitness professional, and she actually leads the workouts in our DVDs and online workout videos. I interviewed her probably 2-3 years ago about how she dealt with being overweight in college and how she made that transformation from, being quote unquote the chubby kid to being a fitness star. And now it's, if you Google Amy Kaiser, it's one of the first articles that comes up, and it's pretty cool. We also did an article on Steph Curry, the NBA player, about how he had a lot of ankle problems before the last few years, kept getting injured with his ankles. And what ended up helping him was actually strengthening his core, not just working on his ankles, because the core really helps you control and stabilize the rest of your body. So that article got a lot of pickup too. And then we wrote kind of a fun one during the 2016 primaries about the candidates in the Democratic and Republican primaries and how fit their Facebook followers are. So there's a way we kind of backed into figuring out, how active they are, and we ranked them. And that got picked up by Politico, which is a pretty big, if you're familiar with it, pretty big online news, digital site.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk to Jeremy about his favorites as it relates to his life as an entrepreneur.
Have you ever thought about investing in real estate, but find yourself so busy that you don't have time for it? Do you have FOMO, which is the fear of missing out? At HanfordCapital.com, we help investors with passive real estate investments that project better returns than traditional investment vehicles such as the stock market. If you'd like to find out more about our passive real estate investments, visit HanfordCapital.com. That's HANDFORD Capital.com. We will jump on a call with you to discuss your investment goals and to see if our investments are a good fit for you. This advertisement is not to be construed as an offer or recommendation to buy or sell a security. Visit HanfordCapital.com. We are back with Jeremy Greenberg, and we're going to be going over a series of quick questions and answers that we call the trifecta. So start us off and talk to us about your most favorite technology that you use in business that helps make your life easier as an entrepreneur.
Oh, gosh. Is it too lame for me just to say my iPhone? I do everything I can on my iPhone. Obviously, I take calls, I email, but I also, for our business, for Flyte in particular, there's a lot of videos we do, online videos. So I also make social media videos in our ads, using the app, using apps, Video Maker and other apps on my phone. So I'd say my phone, I'd say a runner-up would be my Powerbeats 3, my Bluetooth, because if I didn't have them, then everyone would hear my conversations.
What's a favorite quote that you've heard that's helped you as an entrepreneur?
I don't know if I'm going to get it right, but John Wooden, who won many, many titles at UCLA, probably the greatest basketball coach ever, said, "Make each day your masterpiece." I think that's a great quote. I always say, hey, not every masterpiece has to be, a perfect work of art. Sometimes you can have a masterpiece that's just a fun, relaxing day, but really makes you think about, make every day your masterpiece. Like, okay, well, that puts a lot of pressure on figuring out what you're going to do for the day and really doing your best to hit that, whether it's having a relaxing day or a productive day, whatever it is, really doing what you're intending to do.
And what's one book that you've read that you would recommend for other entrepreneurs?
I love reading books in the area of, I guess you'd call it like pop psychology. There are a number of books I would recommend, a number of authors. So Jonah Berger's great. There's one that I'm reading now. I'm almost done. It's called Hitmakers by Derek Thompson. And a lot of these books are around, what makes something catch on. And I'm always interested in listening to the anecdotes of why something caught on. So it's a little bit like, more of a modern day tipping point. To me, that stuff's really interesting. You hear this concept of, such and such video or song or whatever went viral. And Derek Thompson in this book really talks about how that's not really, nothing goes quote unquote viral. There's a little bit more of a method to the randomness. And it's interesting because it's so hard, for entrepreneurs to get in the heads of consumers and prospects. But I think this moves you a couple steps closer.
So what's the next thing for you right now on your vision or your dream board?
Well, I don't have a dream board, so maybe that should be my next thing. Right. Right now I'm trying to figure out, Avenue Group just launched earlier this year. We haven't spent too much time talking about that. But one of the areas is education. And I'm working on a podcast actually where I'm interviewing a number of business leaders as they take on a new opportunity in real time. So we're having, 4 to 6 interviews where we start before they've even, tackled whatever their opportunity is. They've defined it. And then we talk about what the options are. And then we talk about why they decided to take a certain route. And we talk about how it's going. And at the end, we talk about how it's gone. I've finished recording several of these, and they've been really interesting. So I've interviewed the CEO of a medicinal marijuana and marketing company. I've interviewed a bar owner who has a special type of bar in DC. I've interviewed a bakery owner who's had a bakery that has been around for hundreds of years, actually. I came from Poland. And I've interviewed a CEO who founded a company that does waterproofing technology, nanotechnology for devices that you and I all use, as he was trying to figure out what new country he should enter for his company. So stay tuned to that. That's going to be, I think, super interesting. So, I'm sure you guys love doing podcasts. I think this is great. It's going to be a lot of editing work, but this should be really interesting. Got some good content.
Well, how can the listeners reach out to you and find out more information about this new podcast that you have going to be launching pretty soon here, and also reach out to you if they have any more questions for you after listening to this episode?
Yeah, I think the best thing is they can go to my Avenue Group website. The website is avegroup.com. They can also email me at info@avgroup.com, and I'd be happy to see how we can help them out.
Awesome. And we'll put those links in the show notes, which can be found at the toughdecisions.net website. Thank you so much, Jeremy, for being with us today on the podcast. Look forward to having you on a future episode as you continue to grow as an entrepreneur.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Have a nice rest of your day.
Yep, you too. Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Tough Decisions Network. Be sure to visit toughdecisions.net to gain access to show notes for this episode and to join our free weekly entrepreneur email, where we will send you news about the latest technology for your business, inspiring quotes, and the latest books for entrepreneurs. That's toughdecisions.net.